Remake Our Life is back after a delay. Had a recap episode last week, was really super bummed about it. But now we're back when full steam, full on harem mode, it seems at this point. But yeah, this is my thoughts on episode 7 of Remake Our Life. So let's jump into it. So yeah, open up the episode. We really do get a sense that this Sayuri obviously is apparently a fiance of Tsurayuki. She's kind of there helping out, making food and everything, trying to coddle him, in hopes that eventually she can take Tsurayuki and take him back home. Like I said, this is where we get our first glimpse of, some really ramping up of harem feelings here, as we have, obviously, Sayuri is doting all over Tsurayuki, doing the whole thing with food, and here we go. Nanako is taking the jump. She's jumping in there, she's not gonna lose, and she's trying to feed Kyoya as well, alongside Akishino. And yeah, like I said, this is like where we're first getting a glimpse. Now, again, in the previous episodes, we were seeing Nanako obviously looking a little bit down at the idea that Kyoya and Akishino are a thing, but this is like that moment where you do realize, she's not going to back down at this point. We're going to actually pursue this. Now, and it's sad because I was giving the show a lot of credit for the idea of Nanako kind of going, okay, they're obviously a thing, I have to back off. But no, she is literally, I'm not going to lose. I'm going to push and push and push. So yeah, a lot of this episode really did seem like Nanako is taking a jump. She's really trying to pull him in her direction, which we all know is not going to end well. My hope was that it was just going to kind of shift to Nanako going with Tsurayuki, but that, like I said, that doesn't seem like that's what they're going to be doing with this whole thing. They are going full love triangle. Obviously, hearts are going to be broken at this point. But yeah, following the scene, we do get a little moment with Tsurayuki and Kyoya alone together. Tsurayuki explains the whole situation with Sayuri and the idea that they were in nursery school together. They're childhood friends. They made a promise when they were younger that they would get married. There's your problem number one. You never do this in anime. if you promise you will marry somebody when you're a child, this is going to be a driving force for your romance for the rest of your life. But yeah, apparently she took that to heart, and it was kind of sweet because it kind of places it in the idea that Tsurayuki is not that he doesn't like her. He loves her as a person, but it's more in the idea that he sees her as a sister. They've always been together. He actually said that, I thought when I was younger that she was my sister. When my parents were not around, she was there to support me. So it does kind of put this little perspective that, this has always been a sister to him. And now we're adults. He doesn't see her in a romantic way. Obviously, she does, because she just goes full after him in this episode. But in the idea of why are they, set to be married, it seems to be that was a choice that his parents made. It wasn't a choice that he or her made. It was his parents. And of course, she probably went with it because she does like him. But that is kind of an unfortunate thing that's kind of placed upon him, is that this is something that he doesn't really want, but both her and his parents are all kind of pushing this upon him. As they get into the winter time, it does seem like things are starting to ramp up for them. They have plenty of time to actually work on the game they're working on. Again, Sayuri's still there, paying a lot of visits. Obviously trying to get his attention as he's trying to work on this project. And this is where we do get a confirmation that yes, Tsurayuki did scrap his original work. I talked about this in the last episode, Impressions. So they didn't really get into really diving into that mentality. Like I said, I was hoping it would be a thing where they do point out the idea of how much work that really means and how much you end up sacrificing to rework an entire project. It just really kind of turns into a thing where, as he talks with Eiko later on, that is more of a thing about how Koya is able to work with people to help them go in a direction they need to for a project rather than their own art style. And while that is kind of sad, it's also a thing of his ability to work with people and help them find a goal that is more fitting to what they're working on. But yeah, now that he has a story, he's got the backgrounds, he obviously goes to Nanako in respects to the music, because that's something they still need. She's really bummed out. She doesn't think that she's going to be able to pull it off, but he listens to what she's worked on. She's got a melody kind of laid out, and so he knows that he can take that, loop it, and edit it to actually make it work. And this is a point in which, again, Nanako, taking that leap, decides to hug him to recharge, obviously pushing a little bit more on him, that she obviously is interested in him. And he's, again, the usual protagonist thing, maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Definitely not that she's after me or anything. Had some funny scenes with Akishino. looking at the artwork for the characters. She's like questioning, what are they doing right here in this scene? And he just does not want to answer her question. And she's like, no, but I mean, I need to know what is happening. Not that she doesn't know what's happening, but that she needs to know what they're doing exactly. And this goes into her pretty much trying to sketch his inner thighs and him being a little bit scared of her forwardness. I don't know. It's one of those moments where you don't really know, can't really gauge Aki. Like, is she really oblivious, or is that she's just not as emotional about it as he thinks that she should be, and it makes her look like she's oblivious. But yeah, following this scene, we get a little moment with Eiko and Koya, and they're talking about the project, and she's very much so impressed by the fact that he's able to get people to kind of change their art style and how they write things and how they draw things to fit what they're working on. And she finds it to be very much a kind of a feat that he's able to pull off. Whereas it's normally difficult, especially with Tsurayuki, to kind of break away from your style to help it match a single style. Whereas, you know, you can have Akishino able to draw like maybe hyper shoujo, and then you have Tsurayuki who's maybe doing a writing style that's more geared to shonen. You're able to bring them together and make them work together. The next scene's very telling. As we get this brief moment during Christmas Eve, Kyoya and Aki are walking together, doing some shopping, and at some point she stops Kyoya and says, "Is it okay for you to be with me?" And it kind of implies this idea that she's questioning why he would give her the time of day, basically. Like, almost self-deprecating. It felt like a very self-deprecating statement. So I think this is kind of a telegraph of possibly what's to come with Akishino. Obviously, we've already gotten statements from her that lead us to believe that she doesn't think that she can do anything. She's mentioned several times that everybody's incredible and I can't do anything. So I don't know if that's telling to what her story will be, which is in the idea that she might have some history of people saying that she's not good enough, or if it's just something that's in addition to what she said before, where she said that she doesn't have any skills and everybody around her is, you know, prodigies and really good at stuff. So I'm curious what that'll end up turning into, but I think that is definitely something they're telegraphing for possibly her story going forward. It was sad to learn later on, as they all get together for the New Year's festival, that apparently, according to Tsurayuki, Nanako had canceled her plans to do something with Koya. Apparently, she had like a sale that she wanted to take Koya to during Christmas Eve, and obviously, you know, Akishino was with him during that time, so she had to cancel that. So it's kind of like a little heartbreak moment for her. She gets upset and punches him. To continue this whole thing with Nanako trying to push towards Koya, we have a scene with them in the convenience store working, and she asks him about what you were doing alone in the bedroom. And apparently they were getting reference shots of different poses for her artwork. And yeah, this is a great scene because he goes back to stock the drinks, and when he's back there, she does the same thing where she leans over him. And I was like, what, are we doing this trope again? But it was funny because she actually points it out. She's like, last time was just a coincidence. This time I'm doing it on purpose. And so it was like one of those moments like, okay, he's finally establishing, yeah, she is after me. This isn't a coincidence. She does have feelings for me, obviously. And this leads us to a scene with him talking with Eiko about what he's dealing with, which is basically, he's got a love triangle, and he says himself it's going to affect production. That these two girls are obviously having feelings. It's now a thing, and it's obviously going to cause conflicts. If he tells Nanako at this point, no, I can't be with you, I'm with Aki, or if he tells Aki, look, hey, Nanako wants me and I like Nanako more, what's going to happen? Their project's going to crumble. That tension and that anger and that upset is going to affect what we're doing. And he wants to make sure this works, mainly because obviously Tsurayuki is heavily requiring this in order to continue. But this is a project they've put a lot of money into, a lot of time, and it's going to affect them in the future. So his question to Eiko is like, how do I handle this? And I thank Eiko for pointing out the thing that we all want to point out. You're a dirtbag. Like, you should have said no a long time ago. This was so damn obvious, and yet it took you this long to realize it, and you've been stringing along these girls this whole time and not saying no. You're non-committal has caused this. But she does acknowledge the idea of like, okay, well, I understand where you're at now. And I understand that why you're thinking this is a problem. And so her suggestion is to just avoid being alone with them for a while. Finish the project and then deal with it. And I really do respect her for her kind of pointing that out. I do agree. It sucks. But at the same time, I agree with her in the idea that, yes, you have this project you have to finish. So finish it. Stay away from them. Don't let that tension create, even though he technically has to work with Nanako. But it was a good solution. It's just one of those things of like, how do you pull that off? Because like, okay, you're going to have to go into Akishino's room to help her with what she's working on her computer. You're going to have to go to Nanako's room in order to help her with her music. But at least there's a solution there. Just avoid it, redirect, don't be alone with them, finish the project, and then handle it. Because this is the problem that you created yourself. And it sucks because it's one of those things where this was a thing before they started this project. He could have handled this a long time ago. But he was stupid. He was being this dumb, and this is like this anger. I'm starting to hate Koya at this point. You knew this was happening, and you did nothing about it. You were just being oblivious to it, and it's dumb. But yeah, following this, we have this, very forward scene of Sayuri trying to seduce Tsurayuki. It was funny because she's like, wow, this is a lot of perverted stuff you're making the story into. If you want, I could do all this stuff to you. And he panics and throws back. Again, I think it's one of those moments where you're like, dude, really? Like, does she scare you? Are you afraid of her? But again, I do see the idea that he does see her as a sister, and I guess that could be an issue for him. And I understand that aspect of it. But him kind of rejecting her and saying, your parents want you, and he's like, no, my father would never say that. It kind of leads her to leave, and she never does come back. And it isn't until later that she actually drives up near Koya, or at least she's drove up near Koya. She has a driver. She pretty much takes Koya out to dockside. He comes out of this big, huge, muscly guard. They're on the docks, and he's like, this is like straight up, I'm getting Sleep with the Fishes vibes here. But this is the point when she pretty much asks him, like, are you two a thing? And he's like, no, heck no, we're not a thing. But she kind of questions him, like, back at home, he has guarantees. He has a life. He has everything handed to him. He has all these opportunities that will be given to him if he comes home. What are you going to provide for him? What guarantees do you have that he's going to be successful? And he's like, I don't. He chose this, and I'm supporting him. And I really do like, and yeah, it's got that whole thing of like the MC speech thing, always encourages people. That's what Koya is. He's the speech guy. Something's wrong. Here's a speech that'll encourage you that you're not going to fail. This is the greatest choice you can make. So he does have that kind of vibe like, yes, I didn't make that choice. He made that choice. And I'm going to make sure that he's successful. I'm going to try my hardest to help him with his dreams. And this is a really cool point for her because she realizes that, technically we've always been pushing on our dreams to him. And here's this guy that's actually supporting him for what dreams he wants. But she takes this and she does ask him to please support him. And she kind of goes on her way. This is funny because it's like, they just leave him there. Like, he's in the middle of like nowhere on a dock. It's like completely dark, and they just drive away and leave him there. Like, how is he gonna get home? And I was totally expecting Koya to be like, wait, how do I get home? Like, they drove me out here and then they just leave me. I was expecting it to be like a scene cut and she drops him off at his place or something like that, but dang, that girl's mean. Maybe that was like her final like bird that she's flipping at him. Like, just, okay, well, thank you. Take care of him. Let's get out of here. Leave him here. She gets the last laugh in the end. But yeah, overall, excellent episode. Even though, like I said, it's really turning up the love triangle vibes. And I joked about the harem vibes at the beginning. It does feel harem-y in the idea that you have these two guys with three girls just doting over them. But technically, it's not a harem at this point. Yeah, it goes on the side, but she's not really a thing. It's really more of a love triangle at this point, and it's going to be a heartbreak. I know it is. I'm not looking forward to it. I was kind of hoping they'd avoid it. It felt like they were, but we're getting into it, so we'll see where it goes from here. But that was my impressions on the 7th episode of Remake Our Life. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below. Share this video if you can. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Support us on Patreon if you can, and y'all take care.